kiss for you.
The final step in our kind of guide series about how to do various tech things, like being able to debunk common tech myths, fix a slow computer, avoid common tech support scams, useful computer tips, and things you should be aware of. I've done videos on all those, and you can check them in the description as well as in the new playlist that's made. The one thing I want to talk about here is becoming tech literate. This is the final kind of step in here, so you can kind of take all these advice and all these things I've given you and do it for yourself and kind of become aware and self-sufficient in this category. And I've kind of laid out the 6 steps here that I think are really useful in doing that. And I think the first one you obviously have to look at is following channels that align with your interests. Focusing on review and info channels first, then diving into the more opinion ones. But I think ones that give you reviews and information about whatever your current interests are definitely very useful, right? In the case of tech, you have, standard outlets like CNET and The Verge and Engadget, as well as more influencer types, right? And so you can really pick and choose whoever you want to follow and whatever you want to follow and get that information. But I think that's usually the first step, is whatever you're interested in, if it's a specific type of software, if it's a certain type of technology or hardware or anything, find people that are like that and look at the reviews and look at the kind of interest around that, right? The second thing is, after you've done that, after you've kind of looked at that content and informed yourself, you want to tune into industry events, things like CES for consumer electronics, WWDC for software, phone conference for, World Phone Conference in terms of phones and technology and advancements in the portable industry, and then other ones if you're interested in cars, right? Auto industry events, anything that you can get a first-hand experience of how info is presented and delivered, right? In this case, January 7th to the 10th, the CES, that's a big consumer electronics show that they talk about all the new technology when it comes to things like TVs and robots and all that, right? Usually see some prototype stuff that's never going to make it, but it's all in service of exploring and expanding the possibilities. And so once you've both found the channel that you're interested in and looked at industry events, in my case, something like CES, you want to deep dive into whatever that product or service is and get your hands-on approach into investigating its uses and its benefits. Typically, what I like to do in that case is downloading the software if I can do that, examining it, playing around with it, messing around with stuff. Don't use a guide, which is the next step. Once you've done kind of a deep dive into whatever product you're interested in, if you can get access to it, don't use a guide automatically. Try and explore the software or product yourself, and that allows you to attach your own ideas and your own things more closely. This is kind of all in service of the idea of, like, if you're trying to use something like Paint, right, or like an Illustrator application, you want to learn what the things do. You want to investigate yourself. Oh, what does the magnifying glass do? How do you go back? How do you go forward? How do you select things? You want to kind of figure out how to use the application yourself rather than automatically going to a video and just having that play at you. The way you get involved in this kind of stuff is to willingly go out and investigate, try out things. These are not scary items. You can always undo and fix anything you've messed up. Just try and, examine and explore what you can. The next thing, once you are confident in your own knowledge of the item, you can now go back to step 1 and see how others responded, following channels that align with their interests, checking reviews, that kind of thing. You're mainly looking for, where do you differentiate, right? If you think that a product is really great and a bunch of people are saying it's not, why is there a difference there, right? What are you getting out of the product that they aren't? On the flip side, they think something is amazing, you don't like it. Where's that disconnect? What are things that are hitting you up that you kind of are annoyed by? When you take this more critical look, you start to kind of examine products differently. You start appreciating the quality or lack of quality of some products different. That's why I tend to focus on the user experience of a lot of products and complain about user experience, because that, to me, is a really critical part. How do you interact with the objects, the font, the shading, the coloring, the UI in general, how it's laid out, all that to me is really important. So when something does that well, I appreciate that and I take note of that. Other reviews and stuff might not do that, and so I always try and see, okay, I like this, they don't care about that, why is that? A lot of it comes down to personal uses and kind of personal ideologies about what a product should be. And that's where you kind of have to become confident in your own knowledge and own things of the product. What do you like about this product? What do you are interested in about various technologies? If you're disagreeing with The Verge on how to build a PC, for example, why? What is that disconnect? Taking a more critical look can definitely improve a lot of the contention points that you tend to see that, come up. The last step here, once you've done that, you've examined your differences from other people, you're confident in the product, you deep dive hands first into it and what you're doing, write those thoughts down. They can be like this, like a video, they can be a bullet point or kind of a list format, they can be emails to friends, etc., talking to them in person about it. Anything that you can get to have those ideas that you have flow and create a more concrete understanding of that item. Your opinions can differ or align with others, what changes could be made, anything that gets you talking about this specific product. So, for example, in terms of a guide, right, this person's talking about project management tools. So if you're really into project management tools or just productive tools in general, you're going to be looking at Hive, you're going to be looking at Monday.com, right? And you're going to be trying that software out, examining how it works, benefits and drawbacks, and then going to reviews and seeing what other people are kind of into. This is a great example, a video format, a script format, something to get your ideas about whatever product you're into out on paper, because that is really useful. It's a writing technique. Getting things out rather than keeping it in your head allow you to develop an understanding of that item, item, a product, a service, anything much better than just keeping it all in your head, right? Internalizing that and vocalizing that is a very large core piece of becoming, as this says, tech literate or just any kind of literacy in general. And I think once you're doing those 6 steps, you do it over and over for every product and service you want to invest in, right? Over time, it becomes automatic and you do these things without needing this guide, without needing all these steps. And the last point is kind of a tip. Becoming tech literate or literate in anything just means investing into and learning about these items way more than most people. People that do this, it isn't more work for them, it just ends up being something that they do as a second nature. Once I started doing weekly videos, I really enjoyed the process of doing that because I was able to get things out quicker than I typically would while still giving my information, my thoughts about it. This is a very nice avenue for me because I'm able to kind of spew and talk about these things and, different opinions. I like different opinions. People are saying how I'm wrong about Apple being less expensive or on par, right? And people are really mad, coming from other countries and coming from different backgrounds. And I like that discussion. That discussion is very good. I like when people talk about, this is why I disagree with you and this is why you're wrong or all that. Like, as long as it's within the eyes of understanding my point, I, go crazy, right? If you have, can get your thoughts out, that's great. That is the objective of the channel, is to give you information about this stuff and get people talking about this stuff. And I hope that my channel tries to do that. Becoming tech literate and literacy in general is all about vocalizing and discussing. And the more we can have that, the better things become. And that's why I really like to highlight this point again. All becoming literate means is investing and learning about these things more than everyone. But for people like me who do that, it is not more work. It is not more work to go and do these videos. I like doing them. It is second nature. Once you can become talking about a product or a service or like a car or an industry trend or something and it becomes second nature to you, then you've become literate. It is not a training and a studying and an arduous process. It should be a natural process. This guide is mainly just to help people rationalize what they already know. These steps are not unique. These are not magic steps or anything like that. But this is me writing down the steps on my process and kind of what I went through. I started by following channels that align with my interests and tuning into these events and trying to figure out myself, what happened. Things like Blender, things like After Effects, right? And animation software, the early stuff like that. It was really cool for me to be able to see all that happen. And I really think events are a big part of that and getting involved. And so I think the more that you can get involved, the better things end up being. So hopefully that was useful. And, obviously leave your opinions down below. If you have a different way that you maybe got into whatever industry you're in now or something like that, then definitely leave a comment down below. But I think in general, like, this is a pretty good guide. I think it's the one that I tend to follow as I was kind of making it and thinking about it. You do want to kind of follow this and sort of have a natural progression of becoming more interested and more involved in whatever you're looking at. Because I think overall, being able to have a more informed discussion about whatever we're talking about leads to more interesting conversations, right? We're not just like blanket consumers, nom everything. We can actually have a critical discussion about stuff. Hopefully the channel is able to do that in the weekly videos that I'm still going to be hopefully posting and all of that, as well as the second channel there. But that's kind of just my opinion, obviously, and you can do with that what you will. But I want to thank you everyone again for watching and all that, and watching the weekly videos, and the support on the last 2 videos recently have been really great, and I really like to see that. So yeah, hopefully you're able to find useful in this guide, and I'll see everyone next time.